Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Media. I'm Nerdy.
And I'm Essence.
All right, this week we're going to get into checking out the media, why they not covering certain things when it happened to people with dark skin.
To certain people.
Yeah. And so we're going to get into all of these excuses why it isn't covered.
And they had all these excuses last week when we asked them about it in reference to the NAACP bombing. And, that's an international issue and major terrorism, and it can have implications for the entire United States. And now all of that just blew up because 2 days after the Charlie Hedbo incident in Paris, that's still, by the way, still being covered big time by CNN. No major news outlets are talking about what's going on in Baga, Nigeria.
And that's international, right? That is overseas.
That is another country, international.
But they've never really talked about any stuff. Remember when those 50 girls got kidnapped from that school? People
had to raise a fit on Twitter. But this isn't even raising a fit on Twitter right now because I think so few people have any idea.
The bombings, there's been a lot of bombings over there. I mean, territories in Nigeria and Africa have been taken over by these groups, but we don't hear about it.
And it's like I was stopping and trying to think of comparing it because, in France, this was a big deal. This was the biggest terrorist attack that France has ever seen. You've got 12 people dead. According to Amnesty International, the carnage in Nigeria is unprecedented. It's the largest ever in the world. We're talking over 2,000 people dead. Another 5,000 people, according to Doctors Without Borders, are being treated because they're injured.
Yeah, Doctors Without Borders. I wonder what they doing over there.
We ain't gonna go into how they spread stuff, but I think some of them. I think it's just like the media. They have some on the entry level people who really want to make a difference in the world. Like some journalists really want to make a difference, but then it's hard because they're working within a cricket machine.
Yeah, they want to make a difference, but their bosses, sends.
Exactly. But there are another 20,000 people displaced. They've actually wiped 2 cities off the map. And the best that we can do is 9,000.
So cities in Africa are being wiped out. The part that the AIDS because they've been trying to destroy the motherland for a long time. But what we want to get into is why nobody care. Remember in the 90s when the movie Rwanda came out?
Right.
Rwanda.
Actually, that came out way into, it was happening in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, it was happening in the 90s, but no media coverage, right? We didn't find out till 10 years later, right?
Right.
And so they had the OJ case on there every day.
Oh, man.
Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan. Those became big issues, almost like it was a distraction from what was really going on in the world.
Almost, man.
So you saying they did it on purpose then? Because if you keep doing it, why wouldn't we think you're doing it on purpose?
It's like, matter of fact, it was you one day. I think I've said this before, and I just took credit for it, but I was plagiarizing.
That's okay.
Nerd is the one who actually said it. Like, we worried about the murder of one person here, while millions are being murdered right there
in Rwanda
at the exact same
one
time.
White woman dead, and then the one white guy, and
versus millions.
And the media covered that every day, all day.
Day
one could take a little break and go overseas.
I mean, we watched that trailblazer.
Who owned the media?
Go.
Rich people. And you know what I call them? GRP, greedy rich people.
And the same GRP that owns the media that got you thinking that, you don't even think about 20,000 people being displaced from a city because people in America think that these people are living in the woods anyway.
Exactly.
They think you're living in the jungle anyway. They don't tell you about all of the vacation spots and resorts and all the things that are set up for those, what you call them, GRPs.
Yeah, GRP. Well, the GRP are the ones who up the evil stuff. Now, there are a lot of good rich people with money who ain't part of it. They just trying to enjoy their money and make more money. But then there's people, some of y'all like to call them Illuminatis. I don't like to give them no fancy names. I just call them rich, greedy people or greedy rich people, however you want to call it. And so they control everything. Look back in the 60s, remember when did stuff get changed? Good white people was helping out, right?
Right.
And the civil rights, and those 3 white kids died. That's when the rights black people got their rights when white people. So it's like the GRP said, you know what? We got to occupy these white people or just straight out ignore stuff.
Because too many white people were getting involved in
and they was helping out.
In the Black Lives Matter, in the Ferguson campaign, in New York, and all the major cities. When you start seeing all these young college guys,
all of a sudden, what
these good people.
Good white people want to help out, and that's when stuff changed, and that's why they all of a sudden,
whoa,
about
we don't
15,
want
20 years ago, all of a sudden animal rights activists start coming up. It's almost like they started making furs just to get some white people mad so they can be busy with animal rights.
Else. I mean,
air pollution, going green.
I mean, look, they have been fussing at Sarah Palin because her intellectually challenged son stepped on the dog to reach over.
Okay.
Somebody should get a boy a pat on the back. He was doing some problem solving.
Diseases that affect like cancer. Who put the stuff in the food?
I'm sorry. What happened to Ebola?
That's what I'm saying. So it's almost like they saying it's almost.
Hey! I was gonna tell you a joke about Ebola.
You gonna make a joke about Ebola?
Never mind. You probably won't get it anyway.
I won't. But go ahead and tell it.
That was the joke. You probably won't get it anyway. Anyway.
Now remember this: good people who like to help out. So the next time you're doing your 5K run for some cause, it's just a distraction. It's just a distraction to keep you busy while the RGP doing some destruction around the world. That's all I had to say.
Left and right. You know, one thing that did blow my mind, though, because I was looking at a lot of the journalists' responses to, why this was covered and not that was covered. And they were saying, it's so hard to get to those areas. It's a death sentence to go over there anyway and report. They're not friendly toward journalists in Nigeria. But their whole point in covering Paris was, we have to take a stand again when anybody's against our freedom of speech. Well, what's more against your freedom of speech? If you got a whole regime that's determined that you can't report, or two people determined that you can't report.
See, shit, the media was blaming the government. I read an article where they was actually blaming the government, saying, Paris government was decisive and quick. And then the Nigerian government the infrastructure is corrupt. So,
But the Nigerian,
what that got to do with the media covering this damn story?
The Nigerian president, what's his name? Jonathan, I want to say Good Luck or something. It's like Good Love or Good Luck Jonathan or something. Anyway, he's saying that CNN is trying to blackmail them by even posting reports like that.
See, and what word did they use? One of those negative association words, blackmail. Ooh. Okay, if that's the case, media, why, when a young black kid is kidnapped in America, the coverage ain't the same for a little white kid? Same government, okay, media. So stop making excuses. But you know what it comes down to? Value contradiction. Y'all remember that word right there.
Value contradiction.
This is the things that's been created for excuses for the different treatment. It's always been done.
Explain to me, Professor Nerdy.
Well, what I'm saying is, it's like saying America is about freedom and equality, right?
Bullshit. Okay, yeah.
But we know everyone ain't treated equally, and that's not gonna happen. But what happens is they use the values of a particular group to say that's why they not treated the same way. That's why there's no equality over there. So it's like this contradiction. So it's like the values become blinders for good people or governments who want to help. It's like the blinders. So if they could say, well, Nigeria is not being covered over there in Nigeria because the government is corrupt, and like you said, it's secluded areas and we can't get to it and all that, that's just making these excuses.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
I'm gonna tell you, like my teachers used to tell me all the way back in high school, there are excusable reasons, but there are no reasonable excuses. And what they are given are just unreasonable excuses.
Basically because they put a culture values assigned to different groups.
And we'll see it in the day-to-day protests that we'll see ongoing with the whole police brutality and all of that. Oh, well, they were a criminal anyway, or he was doing something wrong. He was selling untaxed cigarettes, so he deserved to have a chokehold.
Crime is a cultural value used to treat black people a certain way.
However, these journalists they were basically inciting stuff. Have you noticed that we are not being shown whatever their content was?
Whatever whose content?
The
magazine,
the journalists at Charlie Hedbo. We're not.
They made a new cover of.
We're not being shown what they were saying.
Prophet Muhammad.
About them. The only thing that has given any indication, it was the gentleman on
they know
Face
they was
the Nation.
They know they was being disrespectful.
You know, on Facebook.
I'm not saying they deserve to die, but they was being disrespectful.
Right. On Face the Nation, he even said, I don't approve of the things that they were printing. Now, if other journalists don't approve of what you're printing because you're being not just give your opinion, but you're just being downright insulting.
And what do we say? They had a freedom to disrespect other people.
Right.
Well, of course you had a right, but why do it?
Yeah. Just because everything is lawful is not necessarily profitable. It's not.
Well, sometimes it could be profitable because it's like if you have an audience up there.
I said everything that is lawful. Just because it's not against the law to do it doesn't mean that you should do it.
You should do it, exactly.
The speed limit might be 70 miles an hour, but if it's raining, if it's a typhoon and it's a flood, just because you can drive 70 miles an hour don't mean you should.
But it all comes down to these cartoonists are part of that, putting that negative association with the cultures. You know, just like associating terrorism with Muslims, right? So they're allowed to do these depictions of, the Prophet Muhammad or whatever. Mm-hmm. And what this allows, it allows for cultural diffusion. And what that means is America or rich people pushing their cultures on other people. And the reason why they're able to do that is because they can tell their people what their culture is wrong.
It's bad.
That's why we have to push our culture on them. We have to sell ham. Now, you know how I always say, if these people don't want to eat hamburgers and drink lattes and watch videos, why should we be pushing their culture on them? And it's not even about culture leveling. Like usually I'll push my culture on you and you give me your culture, right? No, it's not. It's one-sided. It's not cultural leveling. It's one-sided. Here, take this down your mouth. Down your throat.
What horrible bullies.
America bullies. Wow. And that's why people look at America as bullies. And I'm sitting here going like, okay, I'm American. I'm proud to be American. Right? But I don't agree with all this. The way I speak, we always get in rhetoric with people saying, you're anti-American. Now, I ain't going to break the law, no matter how I feel.
You know what?
But I still have my political views against America. Come on, why can't I have my political views? Well, if a white person
is that not the crux of what America is, that you can have different views?
I know, but what's funny is when a white person has different views, oh, he's American, his opinion. A black, go back to Africa. Why you ain't telling him to go back to Ireland or Russia or wherever he come from that don't agree with what's going on in America?
Because Ireland and Russia and all those places didn't want them. That's why they were shipped over in the first place on criminal boats.
Why are you doing that? Don't call them people peasants.
Actually, I wasn't saying peasants. I
only call the ones peasants who call you the N-word. That's the rule. If they call you the N-word, you can call them a peasant.
Is that in the manual?
Yes, it's in the racial manual.
It's in the racial manual.
I seen it on David Chappelle. That's why it's important to watch the media, because as they doing all this negative association with different cultures or whatever, it's done for a reason, because they have to pacify their people, whoever doing it, whether it's Americans, Europeans, whatever. You could debate on who's behind all this. I just like to call it, I know it takes money and finance, so I like to call it the RGP or the GRP, rich, greedy people, because that covers all my boundaries, because whoever doing it got money. You know that.
The media.
We don't know who doing it.
Yep. They've paid the media, and the media has done its job.
Because they paid them. They own it.
I'm saying they paid it. They own it. They finance that, and they've really done their job.
Right. Because how can you be in France? Like I said, I don't think those people should have been killed. But just sitting there disrespecting, someone, and then turn around, those same cartoonists is not showing the people what's going on in Africa. I bet you those same cartoonists didn't make cartoons showing them black girls being kidnapped.
Are these people?
So it ain't about freedom. It's about
those girls, and that was a horrible thing. And I'm so glad so many of them got it. But what we're seeing right now, and the news coverage said, "Oh well, there's no video." The pictures that we are seeing are horrific. horrific. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of the mother. You could tell like the way that the corpses are positioned, that mothers were trying to protect their children, their babies.
So why have we, or Americans who have all the power to stop a lot of stuff going on in the world, why have they been desensitized to things that happen to dark people around the world?
And it's like
they said, don't feel any connection. That's how I feel.
You're not seeing any connection.
And I'm not blaming the people. It's the media.
What you just said just hit me just real strong because, and this is going to seem completely unrelated, but it just hit me. I saw recently, the movie Lucy is coming out on DVD, so they were back on there, with the lady who was able to evolve a little bit more, whatever, she's able to use more of her brain or whatever. And so they give us a blonde hair, blue-eyed Lucy who's super intelligent, but it's funny how they named her Lucy like the first woman that they call it, the Neanderthal type Lucy that they say.
Oh, you talking about that movie with
Africa with Morgan Freeman,
right? Okay.
So it's like it's a strange juxtaposition. Like this is the new first woman, is
almost like Madonna took her name. Madonna took her name from the.
Well, her daddy gave her name.
Oh, okay.
Her parents gave her name. She just used the hell out of it.
Right. So we calling the media. Let's start a petition. I want somebody and everybody on Twitter and Facebook. Why don't we start a petition? Y'all all want to protest in the streets after all this happened. Why don't y'all start a petition to have the media cover stories that affect all people? Can you do that before you run your 5K, before you lace up your shoes?
I say let's start a hashtag conversation.
Cigarette smoking, huh?
I say start a hashtag conversation.
Hashtag. Well, they start the hashtag Black Lives Matter.
Hashtag Black Stories Matter.
Ooh. Good Lordy.